CareWorks presents Seniors Blue Book, Senior Care Spotlight with Kathleen Warshawsky.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathleen Warshawsky, and you are here for Seniors Blue Book Senior Care Spotlight. Today's guest is Shannon Sennett. She's a licensed Master of Social Work, and she is the Intake Manager and Client Care Supervisor with Visiting Angels in McKinney. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm excellent. And yourself?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. Today, Shannon's going to talk about self-care for caregivers. I think it's a really important topic. So, Shannon, tell us a little bit about stress and what it does to the body.
Well, stress isn't, everybody usually thinks about stress as being a bad thing, but really stress is a normal thing. It's something that we all experience at different levels. Sometimes it can be a good thing. It can cause us to take note of our bodies and take note of what's going on around us. And it can actually motivate us to maybe make some changes in our life. And it can kind of keep us on our toes a little bit. So stress isn't a bad thing. Too much stress and letting that stress overwhelm us does have a physical reaction to our body, and it causes us, to reduce our quality of sleep. It can have us take shallower breaths and have a physical component to our bodies and how we respond to that stress. But it's just important to note that stress is normal, and it's just how much stress we have and how we're able to deal with that stress. So in terms of caregivers have a lot of stress, obviously. And right now, with everything that's going on in the world, it's more stress than what maybe even all of us are used to having in our life. So I think it's really important right now to take note of that and to embrace the fact that, everything is changing with the world around us, and how to deal with those things on a productive way. So,
right. With stress, a little bit of stress is a good thing. A lot of stress is not a good thing, and no stress is not a good thing either, right? So increased productivity happens when you have just the right amount of stress.
Correct. Yeah. So in terms of caregivers and this amount of stress that they have, I feel like caregivers have, kind of that normal stress that helps us to get through the day and make us be productive and, help us to get things done and get the things done that we need to get done. But like you said, too much stress sometimes enables that where we can't do anything because we're kind of held hostage by that stress. And so it's just finding that happy medium, I guess.
And have you seen a lot of that happening with your own caregivers?
I think that, it's right now, everybody's at a heightened sense of stress, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID, and everybody's kind of grieving, I guess, the world as we knew it. Everything's changing. People have lost jobs, and people have increased the amount of caregiving that they are doing. A lot of people are staying home, because of either job loss or because they're working from home. So a lot of people that maybe would have been working are now taking care of their loved ones at home and still trying to work or trying to find jobs. So that's a cause for additional stress. We've also seen the stress of not being able to see their loved ones because maybe they're in a facility, and they're not able to go see them. So that adds for more stress because they can't monitor their situation and check and make sure that they're okay. So that's definitely causing some stress. I think for everybody, just the loss of knowing what the future holds is causing a lot of us to have more stress than normal. So again, it's not that, I think that in all of this, what I've tried to think about in terms of that stress is it's not a bad thing. It's just we have to be able to figure out ways in which to deal with that stress, and then also look at not the silver lining, but what we can get out of this pandemic to make our lives better in the future, I guess.
Very nice. I understand you're going to talk to us a little bit about the 5 domains of wellness.
Yeah. So when we talk about stress and how to cope with that stress, it's important that we take care of our physical well-being. So part of our physical well-being is making sure that we're getting enough sleep. That's very important. Sometimes when we're working at home or, our schedules are off, we probably have the tendency to get away from our normal sleep patterns. So we might be staying up really late, and then, our bodies are probably used to waking up at a certain time for work. So then we're staying up later, but we're still waking up at the same time. So that's reducing our sleep, as well as, of course, stress can cause us to not sleep as soundly and not sleep as well. So it's important to establish those sleep patterns and not to kind of fall into this habit of, well, I don't have to get up and get ready for work in the morning, so I'm just going to stay up till 3 a.m. and do that. So it's important to continue to work to get that sleep. Eating healthy, obviously, is still very, very important for our physical well-being. I know a lot of us are maybe cooking more at home, obviously, and sometimes the ingredients that we're able to get are different than what we were used to before. But try to eat healthy is very, very important, and drink lots and lots of water. Allowing ourselves to have those splurges is important, because in times of stress, we do need a little bit of an outlet. So if you want to, have a ice cream or something, go ahead and do it.
I love ice cream.
Me too. That's my favorite. So it's just important, to have that balance, to have that healthy eating, but still allow yourself to splurge and allow yourself to have, some joy. And many of us do get comfort from some of those foods. And so that's important too. And exercise. For me, myself, I know that this pandemic has kind of allowed me to focus a little bit more on exercise, because I think we all get busy and, we're working late hours and things like that. So as just a human being, it's important to get that exercise. And it's really a time to, if you can, to just block out some time to do that, even if it's just going on a walk and getting outside and getting some fresh air. It doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just taking that time to exercise and get that heart rate going. It's very important. And it's a stress relief.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, there's a lot of social isolation going on right now. People are not able to see their families the way that they used to be. Tell us a little bit about balancing social wellness.
So socially, it is important. We can still connect with people just because we're not able to be with each other. We can do things like this, right? Like FaceTime and Skype. And actually, what we found is a lot of our seniors are able to get connected in different ways that they maybe hadn't before. Like, for example, we're getting a lot of seniors who are getting letters, old-fashioned letters from people who, it used to be, like today's generation, like our children right now, writing a letter to somebody is kind of a foreign thing. They're like, what? Why would I write a letter? So we've actually gotten letters from, their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren, and that's really special and really important. So sometimes, because we're not able to, just go and visit somebody, it forces us to do things that maybe we should have been doing before, like I said, writing those letters and being connected in those ways. It's important to set aside some time. I think sometimes we get so busy just with life. Right now is a good opportunity to start establishing those habits of, I'm going to call grandma. I'm going to call her every week on Friday because she likes to talk on Friday afternoon at 3. and kind of getting into the habit of doing that and, making the time. Because right now, I feel like a lot of us do have more time because a lot of us are at home. Of course, some of us are starting to get back out to work, but establishing some of those social patterns are very important right now when we can.
Excellent. Yeah, things like this Zoom and FaceTime, and even I see people visiting their loved ones at the nursing homes through the glass and talking on the phone. And I know that there are all kinds of other products out there to help them stay connected. Like there's the GrandPad and there's telecom and just all kinds of tools to keep them all connected. Now, I don't know that much about what's going on with the mental health piece of it. I think that there is some talk about maybe some of the suicide rates or depression increasing. Tell us a little bit about that and how we can help balance that.
So again, I think it's just really important during this time to acknowledge how you feel. It's very important that it's okay to grieve the loss of some of the things that are kind of put on hold or maybe no more. It's important to be able to acknowledge that and feel that, talk about it, whether that be with a loved one or there is the suicide hotlines and things like that. Lots of telemental health has been taking off, which is fantastic. There's a lot of support groups that have been established because of this that really we would have never had before. Different support groups for different communities and things like that are now virtual, which is fantastic. And in addition, I think that it's important to know that no loss is too small. I know that there's a lot of people that feel like I shouldn't grieve the loss of a graduation ceremony, or I shouldn't grieve the loss of a sports season gone, or something like that, because, people think that that's not a valid loss, but it is. And so if that's your world, it's really important to acknowledge that and not feel as though it's not worthy of grieving. So all of those kinds of things are really important. In terms of one of the things that I think can be really helpful during this time for your mental health too is maybe establishing a new hobby or getting into something that you've wanted to do or that you gave up doing because you didn't have the time or you didn't have the resources to do. There's a lot of people that have taken up new things like a different craft or a different, or starting reading. A lot of people maybe gave up reading and now they're back to reading, or watching movies, having family time. That's very important. So many of us get busy with outside activities and going to this and going to that it's, now's an opportunity to really cherish those family times that we do have together, and make it something special, and try to reframe how we look at this as an opportunity maybe to reconnect in ways that we weren't maybe doing so before. But again, in terms of our mental health, it is just very, very important to allow yourself to grieve and allow yourself to have hope too, that we are going to get through this and we're going to be stronger for it. And, trying to find ways in which to make our situation better and ways in which to think about what we're able to gain from this situation, not just lose.
So I think that a lot of people are maybe touching on their spirituality now. And are you seeing much about that, or kind of what are your thoughts with spiritual care?
Yeah, and we are. I think that people are having more opportunities maybe to participate in, whether that be their church services, things like, sometimes people get very busy and they would like to go to church service, but they don't. And so because they don't have the time, or, they've got kids activities or other activities, or even people that are in nursing homes and things like that, that they can't physically get out to be able to go to their church service. But we've seen an increase in people being able to attend those virtually, which has been fantastic. More people are tapping into maybe meditation or just prayer, at home, anything like that. They've been maybe doing more yoga and things like that, just to find a quiet, relaxing environment. And I would say for that, just allowing yourself the opportunity to be quiet and be still. And with all the chaos going on, or, anytime in life when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to take some time for yourself. Because again, if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of others. So just allow yourself that ability to take a time out and relax and do what you would like to do. Maybe listen to some music, maybe, like I said, meditate or prayer, or read something that is inspiring to you. It doesn't have to be scripture. It doesn't have to be something like that. It could be just an inspirational story about somebody else, or even watching some of the television that you can watch about different people and how they've overcome. I think that's the message right now to focus on, is that, like I said before, hope and optimism and how we can come out of this better. Trying to find the things in life that maybe we can refocus on, that we may have forgotten or may have taken a back seat. I think that's really, really important, to focus on those things. And just know that there's some of this is outside of our control. A lot of this is outside of our control. But there are things that we can control. We can control allowing ourselves the time, allowing ourselves to just be, and allowing ourselves, like I said before, to grieve, but then also allowing ourselves to have hope. It's really, really important to kind of connect back with the things that maybe we have forgotten previously, because we're so busy and doing other things.
Yeah, there's been a lot of noise in everyone's life historically, right? We make ourselves busy, busy, busy. And I mean, this is a time for reflection and to kind of process ourselves within. And I think we're just not used to that anymore. As a child, I used to have to entertain myself, and we would come up with all kinds of creative ideas and ways of doing that. And I've actually been really enjoying this quarantine time, where I'm just decompressing and sitting outside doing nothing again, or thinking about, what can we make right now?
Yeah. And even a lot of people, I think, have reconnected with nature in a way that we probably didn't. I've heard a lot of people are taking drives and just exploring our, even our Metroplex, which, a lot of times you just get on the freeway and you just go from point A to point B. But I know that a lot of people have been, getting in the car and kind of exploring and looking at things, and that's fantastic, because nature is a spiritual place for a lot of people. Like you said, to kind of reconnect with the different things that you might not have done for a while, or ever, really.
Right.
So
listening to the birds and to the wind.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
things that you forget to appreciate sometimes when there's so much noise in your life.
Yes.
And I think that one of the points that you made, Shannon, is that spirituality doesn't necessarily have to involve religion. Each of us has a spirituality inside of us that may or may not include religion. And for those who it does include a religious aspect, churches, it's hard for them to, be disconnected from their church. But there are ways for them to do that with technology now. There's a lot of church online, etc. And for those who don't have a religious piece, the meditation and the nature and connecting spiritually in other ways is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think people are doing that more than ever. So that's It's a good thing.
All of that leads into everything you've been talking about. It leads into, people's emotional well-being as well. And I know that you're going to talk about that for us today too.
One of the big things for me regarding emotional health, like I have said, is to just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, and all of your feelings are valid, whether that be, like you were saying a little bit about, you've enjoyed parts of the quarantine, right? And that's okay. I think sometimes people, when they hear that, they're like, what? That, and it's not like that you're wishing this quarantine to or wishing it to extend. It's just, it is trying to find that silver lining in what's going on, and, and feeling the way that you're feeling, however you're feeling, is valid and important, and valid, making sure to not feel bad about however you're feeling about it. And then trying to not oversaturate yourself with so much information. It's important to be informed, but then you can have too much information. And so much of the information, if you get into that where you're reading about it constantly, can be a huge, huge, huge source of stress. And we've seen that with the elderly, that they're very scared, very, very scared, as we all are. But some of our elderly, even more than us, just because, they see people coming into their home maybe with the masks, and that's scary. They have maybe memories that means that they're in the hospital, or that means that the person who's coming in is sick, or something like that. So, or it means that they're sick. And, of course, trying to explain to them, no, we're just trying to protect you and making sure that everybody is safe. But it is scary. And so sometimes too much information is not a good thing. Some of the information that's out isn't valid, and some of the information is predicting things that we can't predict right now. And so we can't get into thinking, 1, 3, 5, 20, 30, 50 years down the road, because right now, I think it's important to focus on where we are right now, and not worry ourselves overly with things that we have no control over, that we can't possibly predict right now. So I think that that's a very, very important part about your emotional self-care. And again, identifying those comfort activities that are enjoyable to you. And it's okay if that means movies, or it means, binge watching a show that you've always wanted to binge watch, or that you've binge watched before, but you want to binge watch it again. It's okay to do that. Again, we need to be kind to each other. We need to show grace to each other. And if you hear about a friend that's, binge watching a show and you're like, I think that's an awful show, just keep it to yourself, because if that brings them joy, then there's nothing bad with that. So, just be there for one another, but be there for yourself as well, and allow yourself to do those things that you find joy in, whether that be, like I said, binge watching, or cooking, or doing a new hobby, or, sleeping in, or not, anything like that. It's okay to do those things. And just remember to take care of yourself. It's really, really important to take care of yourself if you're going to be taking care of others, whether that be a family member, whether that means as a professional. We have to take care of ourselves before we can be the very best caregiver to somebody else. And I have found in my own life too, if I feel like I'm only giving, you have a tendency, right? All of us have that tendency to want to give, and, fill up other people's buckets, as they say. And we do get back, but the rate at which we get back is usually we give a whole lot more than what we take in. So it's really important to identify that and know that you have to be adding to your own bucket too in order to add to others.
I think one of the things that I have learned about my emotional well-being is smiling and laughter. So it's very contagious, and even if you are feeling down, if you forcibly laugh, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, ha ha ha, eventually yourself and the people around you, those endorphins start to flow, and you actually feel happier. And so it's something that I use when I want to have really good family photos, and when I'm feeling a little bit sad. I just try to forcibly laugh, and the next thing you know, I'm in a better mood, and I'm so much happier. And so I encourage you to try it, because even when I just was doing it, your smile got bigger.
Yeah.
And it has stayed larger throughout that 2 seconds of smiling and laughing. And so it's a little trick that I have learned, and I wanted to share.
That's great. That's great advice for sure. And one of the things that I always say too, that I do myself, is it's okay to, if you want to just scream, if you're having a day and you want to go out into your car, and, and I used to do this all the time when I would work directly, sometimes when you've had a day at work, or, you're having a day at home, and it's okay to go in your car and just scream and just get it all out, because if you just let it sit in your heart, then that's when it kind of just builds up and builds up. So yeah.
Feel our emotions.
Yes.
We need to know that it's okay to grieve and feel loss and feel depression and upset. We just don't want to stay in those places.
Right. Absolutely.
Well,
And also to be proud of, your accomplishments, or to be, like you said, if you're finding that there are things that are improved during this time, it's okay to feel that and to acknowledge those, and to say to others, yeah, I mean, this isn't a good thing that's going on, but you know what? This is how I've dealt with it, and this has been great for me. This has been great for me to be able to reconnect, or whatever it is. And like I said, it's okay, and let's not shame each other for feeling okay.
Right. Exactly. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for being on our show today. Tell us a little bit about Visiting Angels in McKinney. I know that that's the company that you're representing today. So tell us a little bit about what you all do.
So we provide in-home services to seniors, non-medical care. So that would be anything from helping with light housekeeping, to cooking a meal, to medication reminders, to taking people to doctor's appointments, or to go get groceries, helping people to get out of, ambulate around their home, taking care of any kind of incontinence needs that people might have. And a big one, especially right now, is companionship. Our caregivers are really, really, really great companions who can be there. It helps for families also, maybe families who are out of state or are not available to be with their loved ones all the time as much as they would like. It gives them a sense of peace of mind knowing that there is somebody there, and there is somebody keeping care for them and looking out for them, being another set of eyes and ears, and just being a great friend, and somebody that they can count on to be there. We really strive to make great caregiver matches and have as few caregivers as possible to come in to provide that care for seniors. So, and we have seen during this time that, we are still taking clients, and we have seen a lot of change in terms of what people are looking for. Right now, with people starting to go back to work, we are seeing an increase, but also when people were home, it's hard to sometimes, if you're there and you're working it's hard to also be the caregiver because you do need to still be able to focus on your work. So we have had, even if people are home and they're able to care for their loved one on some level, we have been still in people's homes just to provide that during the day so that they can still get their work done. Yeah, so thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you were here. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
I would just say, take care of you so you can take care of others.
Excellent. Well, I'm Kathleen Warshawsky. This is your Senior Care Spotlight with our guest, Miss Shannon Sennett with Visiting Angels in McKinney. Thanks so much, Shannon.
Thanks, Kathleen. Have a great day.
You too.